Good evening, Sanford Hill Baptist Church family. I'm Pastor Shane Connor, and I welcome you to our conversation about the reopening phases of returning to worship within the building in the coming days ahead. Our deacons did meet last week to discuss the possibilities of a timeline where we might come together and worship and then move forward into resuming some of our activities in the days ahead. Now, realize many of the activities we do are going to be weeks, months, and maybe even further into the future. But there is a time in the near future we feel like it would be appropriate to come together within the building for our regular Sunday morning service only in the beginning. There will be 4 phases of our return to services here at Sanford Hill. Everything will not immediately go back to as it was, but we'll certainly follow protocols that have been set by our state leaders and our local leaders and their guidance through Governor Lee's faith-based and community initiatives. And they have offered some great guidance, some great conversation. And we realize it's not the same for everyone everywhere. Our decision based a lot of it on the fact that Chester County, where we are, has 10 cases of coronavirus in our community total, but 7 to 8 of those have already recovered. So that tells us there's a couple of cases still out there, and we're certainly in prayer for those cases, but there has not been a new diagnosis or a new case in Chester County for several days now. And so we feel like we could have hit our peak at this point, but we still want to be very cautious and very strategic as to how we resume our time together within our church. And we'll follow protocols to do that and do it in a way that you can feel safe and secure when you are ready to return. And that's a key in this as well. Even though our church doors will reopen in a couple of weeks on a limited basis, we fully understand that is not going to be for everybody. There are some who still are apprehensive about getting out and being a part of anything in a collective group. And we understand that. We want you to feel no pressure, want you to feel no obligation to be at the service, even though the doors are open, especially those who are a little more susceptible to possibly catching this virus. We want you and encourage you to stay home if you are in one of those categories. And we will continue our online messages and our online services specifically for those at home during this time. So it will be an online message for those who either are more susceptible to the virus or those who just aren't comfortable in returning to a worship setting at this time. We'll continue the online, and then we will also move into returning to the building on May 17th. That is our target date, unless something changes between now and then for our first return to the building. I'll stress again, we will be exercising great caution during this time. The COVID-19 virus remains present in the state of Tennessee. Sure, we may only have 2 or 3 cases that are still in Chester County, but we realize across our state there are several cases, and we will continue to be vigilant and in the way we go about reopening our doors again and continuing our online services. We feel like, though, it is time that we can gather in person again. We talked in our deacons meeting as our timeline would be as quickly as possible, but as safe as possible. And that's not always as quickly as we want it to be. You know, many of us would like to have been back maybe yesterday, but it wasn't time. It wasn't time, and we need to prepare for this building to be as safe as possible when the doors do open. So we want to do it as quickly as possible, but we want to do it as safely as possible as well. And we want to recognize that meeting in person will not look the same as it did prior to the COVID-19 pandemic. It will look different, especially for the days, weeks, and even months ahead. And maybe there will come a point we return to something similar, but for a time being, there is going to be some significant alterations to our services when we do gather together. So they will remain in place for quite a while. And I want to touch on some of that tonight. So basically, the plan will be a 4-phase plan of return. A 4-phase plan of return. That plan will begin on May 17th. May 10th, which is Mother's Day, this coming Sunday, we will be having a Mother's Day at home service. Our service will be online. we encourage you, if your mom is still living, invite your mom to your home if that makes sense for you. If she lives close, invite mom over. Watch the Mother's Day service together, and also maybe have a meal of fellowship following the service. Spend some time with your mom. We're encouraging that for our service this Sunday, and you will be gathering in your homes. But now that we can gather in a bit larger group setting, we encourage you to spend that service with your mom or dad, or mom and dad if they're available. Now, we want to remember moms who aren't with us anymore, and we'll spend the time in our service remembering moms and appreciating what our mothers mean to us. So it is a Mother's Day at home service this Sunday. We will have a Sunday school lesson at 10 o'clock, and following our Bible Studies for Life at 10 o'clock, we'll have a short break, about 30 minutes, and then our regular Sunday morning worship at 11 this Sunday morning on Facebook and YouTube is where you'll find those. So I encourage you to go ahead and plan to join with your mother if possible, or reflect about what your mother meant to you as we approach Mother's Day. Following Mother's Day, the following Sunday, we will begin returning to the building, and we will do this in a way that we can be physically distanced in the level that we are encouraged to be from our state leaders. We will provide that 6-foot distancing between families. Therefore, that will decrease our capacity. They're encouraging churches, as many other public places, to only offer 50% of capacity to gather in a group. So with that being said, we're going to need to offer 2 services on Sunday, May 17th, and possibly moving forward for quite some time. So what we will do on May 17th, that Sunday morning, we will offer a 9 o'clock service and an 11 o'clock service. Those services will consist only of our music and our message. There will be no greeting time. There will be no passing of the collection plates. We will have standalone receptacles. If you would like to give your tithe or offering, we will not pass a plate, but there will be a drop-off location for those. There will be as little personal contact as possible. And we understand that's going to be tough. We have a hugging church. We have a loving church. And it's easy to want to reach out and hug someone you haven't seen in a while, shake a hand, but we must stress, please do not shake hands, hug necks on that Sunday, May 17th. We will be coming into the building. Your greeters will not be handing out bulletins. If bulletins are available, they will be on the table for you to pick up. So you're the only one that has touched that bulletin, and then you will proceed to your seat. And please, we ask that you help us enforce this with your family and your children to abide by this in both services. 9 o'clock. And then at 11 o'clock, we will have plenty of time between services for the first group to be exit the building and out of the parking lot before the second group comes in for the second service. So we will also be offering an opportunity for you to share with us the service you plan to attend, so we can make sure that we spread our church membership and our guests out appropriately. We can offer about 100 spots per service. We'll adjust from there if need be. But we will have a place on our family Facebook page, which you are on now, to comment with which service you plan to be at, 9 o'clock or 11 o'clock. And then when one reaches at capacity, we will close it out, and then the second service will be available. And we understand we will have to be flexible with that in some cases with our guests and that'll be coming in, and those who weren't aware of the need to obviously reserve a spot. We will save some room for those guests and those who show up at the service they choose that night. But if you are available to tell us what time you're coming, we'll be posting that in the coming days. So phase 1, a 2-service Sunday morning situation, and there will be no Sunday school. There will be no nursery. There will be no children or preschool activities. There will be no youth group. There will be no Sunday night. There will be no Wednesday night. It is strictly a return to Sunday morning only for phase 1, 9 and 11 o'clock. So that's what that will look like. When you come into the service, I just want to address a bit about what to expect. We will have every other pew blocked off. You will be able to sit every other pew, but your family that lives in the same household will be able to sit in the same pew regardless of how many there are. So if you're a family of 4, your family of 4 can sit together. Then you will skip a pew, and then there will be another family 2 pews back, so on and so forth. If there are a couple or singles that come, they may sit on the opposite end of the pew if there is about a 6-foot range between the two. But we're going to limit it to one family per pew, sitting every other pew. And that should help us maintain the 6-foot physical distancing and our 50% cap on our capacity for each service. So I would ask you help us with that, but we will have those pews clearly marked as well with that separation. We will have our hand sanitizer at the opening entrance, in the front entrance, which we encourage most people, if at all possible, please come in the front entrance. We will also have hand sanitizers at the other entrance, but that is the touchless machine in the front of the building. If you can enter there, there will be Clorox wipes around the building. Things will be sanitized before you arrive, but if you feel the need, for example, sinks and things of that nature, we will have the appropriate supplies available to sanitize what we need. We will not use hymnals. We will have all the words of the lyrics of the songs on the screens, so there's no touching of the hymnals on this phase 1 as well. Doors will be propped open. You won't have to reach down and open the door. We will prop open the doors so different hands that have preceded you entering the building have not touched the door. You will just walk straight in. There will be no need to open and close the doors with the handles. We will have those propped open out of safety as well. So that's basically phase 1. 9 and 11 a.m. beginning May 17th on Sunday morning only. No Sunday night and no Wednesday night activities. No Sunday school and no nursery or preschool church during our service times. Everyone gathered in a family service style within our sanctuary while we are in phase 1 mode. When that progresses and when we feel it is safe, we will then go to phase 2. Phase 2 will be the addition of a Wednesday night service, which will look much the same as our Sunday morning. That could come pretty quickly where we move to Sunday morning and Wednesday night in the sanctuary only. No children's activities and no youth activities, all in the sanctuary for our Wednesday night time when we are able to return to that in phase 2. In phase 3, that will be pending as far as a timeline when the culture of this pandemic opens itself up to allow for us to return to things like Sunday school, like small group settings, like our Royal Ambassadors and Girls in Action and our Impact Youth Group. We will wait to a time where we are being led by our leaders to believe that we can safely gather in these groups. So we're going to have to play that by ear as we move forward when we can move back into our Sunday school setting with our different groups and our Wednesday night classes as well. And then obviously, once we're able to do that in phase 3 on down the road, phase 4 would be trying to put all activities into place and moving forward. Now that could be some time. We really don't have any idea as of tonight when that might be, but just to know we are going to plan for that. Plan to return to things like fellowship meals and group outings, which that could be a time away. None of that will take place in the early going of this plan, but at some point, prayerfully, we will return and have those possibilities as well. But that will be phase 4 when we do that and move forward and celebrate what the Lord has done to curb this pandemic and allow us to return to our church building and our regular activities. Again, we have been doing this as soon as we can, but as safe as we can. And the phrase I heard the other day from one pastor said, do what you can, where you are, with what you've got. And I encourage you to do that. I know things aren't exactly as we would like them to be, but we are doing what we can, where we are, with what we've got. So take advantage of these online services we are doing in the meantime. Share those with your friends and family here at home and around the country, wherever your relatives are. Share these services. This is a powerful tool at spreading the gospel. Many of you have shared stories where you have done that. And moving forward, continue to do that for Mother's Day. Maybe if your mother's not here and you can't invite her over, invite her to watch online with you, wherever your mother may be. And if your mother's not with us anymore, we'll, of course, have you on our heart and our mind, and also remember what mothers mean to all of us. So that is something to do as we move into Sunday morning. Other than that, I know you possibly have questions, and I just have a couple of other notes about some questions that have been asked of me about the return. We do encourage you to wear a face covering. We ask that you please do wear a face covering and social distance 6 feet away from others. Those are the 2 big rules when you come back in this phased-in approach. If you are in a vulnerable population, please do not feel like you must return on this first Sunday. please do what is best for you. Every situation is different. The state and the CDC classifies a vulnerable population as adults 65 and older, people with disabilities, people with autoimmune diseases, serious respiratory illness. If you fall into any of those categories, cardiovascular conditions, anything where your health could be compromised if you are exposed to this virus, we encourage you to continue to watch at home until you personally feel comfortable in coming back, and do not feel any obligation. That's why we will continue our online services. Remember, no handshakes, no hugging, and that's going to be tough, but please do that to allow us to follow the guidelines that have been set. And again, we'll be limiting the size of the attendance in our sanctuary to 50%. Over time, as Tennessee sees our cases decline, it will be appropriate to broaden these measures, to broaden our attendance, and to get back into contact with one another. But I encourage you, stay at home if you're symptomatic, if you have a fever, or if you've been in close contact with someone who possibly has been exposed in this COVID-19 outbreak. We appreciate your prayers. We appreciate your guidance and prayers as we prepare our facility for this return on May the 17th for our worship and gathering. The hand sanitizers, the Clorox wipes and things of that nature. Of course, they're getting hard to come by, but we have got some of those, and they will be available when we return. So if you do have questions after this tonight, I would encourage you to post them in the comments, because I will go through individually and answer those questions, and also be watching for your opportunity to reserve your spot for that May 17th service, our first day back in the building at 9 a.m. and 11 a.m. for 2 services. No Sunday school and no groups of any kind that day, and no Sunday evening service or Wednesday night service as well. But there will be Sunday morning, and we will have that posted soon, how you can allow us to know which service you will choose to attend, so we can make sure and follow those physical distancing guidelines. Please post your questions. I will stay on a while and answer those here online. Others can watch this thread, and maybe the question you have will be answered, but if not, you can feel free to post it. If not tonight, whenever that question comes to your mind, I'll check this post often and answer those as we move forward. I've been praying for you. Your deacons have been praying for you. All these decisions have been prayerfully made, and we just look forward to gathering again in this limited capacity in a couple of weeks. I hope you have a great night, and we just look forward to seeing you online this Sunday and in person week after next.